The best modern basketball set in the world. Is it 2012 Prizm Gold serial numbered to 10? Recently, I had the great Nat Turner on my channel, and he mentioned that he was collecting this 2012 Prizm Gold set, and it blew my mind. And of course, being the inquisitive hobbyist that I am, I set out on a journey to sort of explore a little bit further how realistic is it to put the set together, how much hypothetically would the set be worth in PSA 10, BGS 9.5, and PSA 9, and more importantly, I asked the question, is this a collectible set? And collectible is a word that people can differ on, but that's what this video is about. The 2012 Prizm Gold set. Is it the greatest thing in modern basketball? First year Prizm, serial number to 10, parallel, gold, the beginning of the gold Prizm era. Is it collectible? That's what this video is about. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you guys are looking to buy sports cards, basketball cards, football cards, baseball cards, comic books, memorabilia, do what I do. Use the Fanatics Marketplace. Just make sure you use the affiliate link that's located in this YouTube description at the very top or the QR code that's attached. Hey guys, Bryan with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana, and today's video, as I mentioned in the introduction, is about the 2012 first year of Panini Prizm Gold set, 1 through 300, and gold cards in general. Is it a collectible set? Nat Turner mentioned that he's going after it, and I started to think to myself, that's impossible. You can't do that. But then again, he's the same guy who's got, 120 out of the 123 green PMGs from 1997 Metal Universe. So if there's anybody out there in the world that could put this thing together, it's him. But it led me down a path into a little bit of a tailspin of just wondering, well, how much is that set worth? I mean, could that really be done? How much would it cost? What are commons going for? Is it akin to the PMG Reds? Is it akin to the PMG Greens? Is it somewhere in between? And then, the PMG Green and the PMG Red set from 1997 Metal Universe and the 1986 Fleer set, they have about the same number of cards, right? So 86 Fleer, 143 if you include the 11 stickers. 97 Metal Universe, PMG Reds and PMG Greens, 123 of those because there's no PMG for the checklist. But there's 300 cards in the Prizm 2012 Gold set, Silver set, Green set, Base set. And I have a little bit of experience of collecting the 2012 Prizm set in PSA 10 grades myself. So I thought it would be an interesting journey to sort of create a spreadsheet, put it together, and just start running some numbers so you don't have to, right? I'm just here as a conduit. I've run some numbers. I've had to make a lot of extrapolations, a lot of estimates, a lot of guesstimating. I've tried to work backwards. These things are serial number to 10. They don't sell very often. So you're going to have to bear with me on this spreadsheet. You're going to have to bear with me. None of this is going to be precise. Don't take this thing to the bank. Hey, Cajun Cardboard said the set in PSA 10 is worth this. In BGS 9.5, it's worth this. In PSA 9, it's worth this. I'm going to give you my estimate on what I think this 300 card set is worth in all three of those grades. But that's only with a couple of hours of research and a lot of logical leaping to almost work backwards and sometimes work forward to figure out what it would hypothetically sell for in the 2024 current basketball card hobby market, which is hard to do when you're talking about a Jonas Valanciunas Gold PSA 10 2012 Prizm that may or may not exist. We don't even know if all of these cards even exist. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to look at the set itself, figure out what's out there, right? We're going to look at the gold specifically, but how do we get to the gold? Well, you start with the, set of origin, right? The 2012 Prizm set itself. We've got it pulled up on Trading Card Database, which is a tremendous resource for me. I do a lot of my research here, the Explore the Card videos that I do. I use this website to get a lot of the information from there. As you can see, there's 18 insert sets, and that is actually a little bit misleading because they include various parallel insert sets as separate sets. And so you've got the autographs, the autograph prisms. They consider that 2 sets. Downtown Bound is an insert, right? They've got a base, a silver, a gold, and a green. You know, same thing for finalists, same thing for most valuable player, which is a set that I am collecting, the silver Prizm most valuable player set. They've got the USA basketball set, which is also really, really cool in all 3 parallels as well. But just to kind of tie a bow around this and kind of just get you to, you know, at least the starting line, where we're going to talk about the entire 300 card gold Prizm parallel set, not the insert sets, but the gold, you know, base parallel set. There's only base, silver, gold, and green. I've talked about this before. This is where it all began. This is where junk parallels began. Right now we've got tiger stripes and donkey butt and, you know, monkey feet and, you know, cat fur. You know, it's ridiculous what we have going on right now. There's taco fractors. There's, you know, tiger stripes. We've seen it all. There's hundreds of just Prizm parallels. Well, in 2012, when this set first came out, and sort of was intended to take the place of, you know, its predecessor, Topps Chrome, there was only 3 parallels, silver, gold, and green. And guess what? All 3 were rare. Yes, you heard me. Silver parallels were very, very rare. I think they were like 1 a box or something like that. Don't hold me to that. I've got to do some more research on it. But the golds were the only serial numbered parallels. Green are also super, super rare. And I think greens are retail only. I might be wrong, but I think that's correct. The golds are super rare. They are all serial numbered to 10. There's 300 of it. 300 times 10 is 12,000, right? No, I'm just kidding. 300 times 10 is 3,000. So there's 3,000 gold parallels from 2012 Prizm out there. That's where we get to our starting point. Bear with me here because I've had to, you know, like I said, extrapolate, guess, kind of roundabout, figure out, finagle, use multipliers to get from maybe a PSA 9 is the only gold that's ever sold for a particular player. So I had to kind of push it in, you know, multiply it by a certain number to get to a PSA 10. I'm going to talk you through my thought process. Again, this is not scientific. This is not going to be, you know, highly scrutinizable data. Do not hold me to this. I wanted to get a roundabout idea of what the set's worth and then really just kind of ponder the question, is this a collectible set? Is this the set that, you know, some of the big dogs, some of the whales, some of the goats want to go after? What about in green? What about in silver? Well, let's start with the gold. You know, part of the problem is I've got the PSA Pop Report pulled up, and if you kind of scroll through here, there's usually 1 or 2 golds, okay, graded. There's usually 1 or 2 golds that have been graded by PSA. Let me scroll all the way back up here to the top. Okay, here we go. For each player, you know, so for instance, for LeBron James, there is 1 gold graded, and it is a PSA 10. For Paul Pierce, it's been graded 6 times. It's probably not 6 individual golds. It's people trying to get PSA 10s. As you scroll down and you get to some of the more obscure people, some of them don't have, you know, PSA 10 golds. And so you can't come up with a price. There's no historical evidence. And even if there were PSA 10 golds, they may or may not have sold. So just kind of keep that in mind. We're working on very, very rare cards here that may or may not have ever sold in any grade. So it's really hard to sort of put a definitive, decent, reliable number on it, but I have done my absolute best. I'll tell you how I sort of came up with my numbers, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, so let's get started here at the very top. So just so you guys know, I've got 2 rows here. Obviously, I've got up here. Hopefully, you guys can see this. It's a 2012 Prizm set. There's serial number to 10. There's 300 cards. There's 2 columns. There's 150 in each column. Just a little bit about the set. The first 150 cards in the set are veterans, meaning they're not rookies and they are active players. 1 through 150. So the whole left-hand column here is going to be active players. The next 50 in the set are what they call legends. And so starting with number 151, as you can see on your screen, Wilt Chamberlain, Pete Maravich, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Olajuwon, Irving, Rodman, Cheeks. They did a pretty good job of choosing 50 absolute legends. However, there's some guys that snuck in that are not, I wouldn't consider them legends. Horace Grant, no offense. Rolando Blackman, probably not, would not consider him a legend. Tomjanovich, okay, I guess. Kelly Tripucka, I mean, I don't consider Kelly Tripucka a legend. I'm not sure how they came up with him instead of some other options. Danny Manning. So it's not a perfect science, but it's pretty damn good. Out of the 50, I'd say about 38 of them are real badass, legendary type players. Ilgauskas sneaks in here. Terry Porter sneaks in here. Again, sorry Blazers fans, but you know what I mean. Yao Ming's in here. Mutombo Mourning. So tons and tons of Hall of Famers. That's the 151 through 200. Then, believe it or not, yeah, you sit down for this. Remember in 1986, the rookie class in 86 featured a bazillion Hall of Famers? Well, there was a reason for that. There had not been any rookie cards, no offense to the star people out there, but there had not been any rookie cards because Topps stopped in 1981. So every 82, 83, 84, 85, and 86 rookie, minus Stockton, don't even ask, I have no idea, were in 86 Fleer. So that's why the 86 Fleer set is so legendary and collectible. 132 card set, 11 stickers. It was a quadruple or 5 years worth of the best rookies jammed into one set. Well, that's why all the rookies were so badass in that set. Well, in 2012 Prizm, it's sort of a dose of that, but it's not perfect. It was 2 years. It was a 2 years of rookie class. There's 100 rookie cards in here. So if I scroll down, you're going to see some of the greatest of all time. You're going to see a lot of surefire Hall of Famers in here. Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard. Let's see, Tobias Harris is a pretty, better than average rookie, better than average NBA player for sure. The little Isaiah Thomas for Boston, who unfortunately had his career cut short by a horrible hip injury. Kemba Walker's in here. Everybody forgot about Kemba Walker. You've got Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, Andre Drummond, multiple NBA rebound leader. You have also got Jonas Valanciunas, a much better than average NBA player. Draymond Green, a very much debated NBA player, but certainly he is going to be a Hall of Famer, like it or not. Chris Middleton's in here, right? Second fiddle to Giannis on that Bucks title. You've got Darrell Arthur. No, I'm just kidding. I accidentally have, this doesn't make any sense. I must have made a mistake there. That's a mistake. Let's fix that. Oops. Don't worry, I've got it to where it sums and it changes the sums. I accidentally had DeAndre Liggins as a $5,000 card. I'm not sure how that could possibly have happened. All right, so now you know what the constituent parts of the set are. 150 veterans, 50 legends, 100 rookies. Add it all up, you get 300 cards. Now, I wanted to figure out what's this damn thing worth. And so let me just tell you how I started. First, I went into Card Ladder, and I went into the Card Ladder sales history, and I sort of worked my way backwards. Okay, here we go. So I plugged in, this is my search, and this is how I sort of tried to get as precise as possible. The only bad thing about searching sales history, and it's not just Card Ladder, it's anywhere, is they can't sort it by sport. You can't sort basketball only because there's no indication of whether or not a card is a basketball or a football card in the listing itself, right? There is in eBay, but there's not on auction houses, and it's just hard. So it's going to pull football crap in here as well. So what I've done is 2012 Prizm Gold, serial number to 10, minus Select. I don't want any of the Select. They had Select Golds in 2012. Minus Crusade. I don't want any Crusade cards. They had Crusade in 2012. Minus Most, which is the most valuable player insert set. Minus MVP. Some people refer to that insert set as MVP. Minus USA. Minus Finalists. That should be an S. Because it's plural, minus Downtown. So I'm taking out all the insert sets. I'm trying basically to narrow this as much as I can. It's still not going to be perfect. And then I'm working my way back. These are cards that sold. So, of course, you're going to pull, a 2012 Prizm Andrew Hawkins, a football card, right? Then you're going to pull NBA gold stickers. You're going to pull, I could have put minus NBA. You're going to pull baseball. You're going to pull hockey. Maybe not baseball, but certainly hockey. So you got to just scroll. And so the first one I get to is, is the Scottie Pippen from 2012. And so 7,960. So I use that number because that is a very recent sale, August 8th, 2024. So that's one where over here where Pippen is, where is Pippen? Is he in the Legends? No, he was playing. Was he? Yeah, he should be in the Legends. So Pippen would be right here. So I put 8,000. So I just sort of rounded to 8,000. So again, already not a perfect science, but you'll see how I did it. And then, I basically did that going back 2 years because beyond 2 years, the data starts to get unreliable. So I used numbers going back 2 years, and then I tried to figure out what those would be in PSA 10. Okay, so that's the first thing I did. So going back here, you'll see up here, I explained myself. I attacked the PSA 10s first, and then we work our way backwards into BGS 9.5 and PSA 9 pricing. for the most part, on the big cards, okay, for on the 50 biggest cards, maybe 75 biggest cards, I had to use a multiplier. And so I just, for posterity's sake, and I know this is not a perfect science and you may disagree with it, I'm just telling you how I got to the numbers, and then you can adjust it however you want on your own spreadsheet. If I had a PSA 10 price to figure out a BGS 9.5 value, I multiplied the big cards only. And there's a reason why I keep saying that, because the commons, they don't move the same. They don't have the same multiplier between 9.5, and 10. On the big cards, I went down to 0.75 for the BGS, and then for the PSA 9s, I went down to 0.5, okay? So I searched comps back 2 years, and then I filled all those in yellow. So some of these I worked forward, right? So if I found a PSA 9 price that sold 11 months ago for, let's say, Oscar Robertson, and the price was 800, I would double it for a PSA 10 value, right? Because the first thing I'm doing on your screen is trying to estimate a PSA 10 value for all of these cards. I searched for collectible players and then extrapolated them and filled them in yellow. The yellow players that you see on your screen, for the most part, either I found a comp for the PSA 10, or they were a very relevant collectible player. LeBron, Drew Holiday, and I was overly inclusive. Like, I considered LaMarcus Aldridge a collectible player, Chris Paul, John Wall, Kobe Bryant, Paul George. You get it. And so for those guys, I looked up every single one of them, regardless of grade, and tried to work with the existing comps in 7, 8, 9, BGS 9.5, etc., to get a 10 value. Okay, so I didn't just pull numbers out of nowhere. For some of those guys, the PSA 10 doesn't even exist. There's just not one. There's not one in the pop report like we looked at. Like, some of these guys don't have PSA 10s. Some of them don't have golds graded, right? So that's sort of how I started this process. And then with the lesser important players and even some of the legends where there's just no comps, I sort of used other players. Like for Maravich, the Bill Russell was 6,000. I kind of worked my way into that. I'm very confident that that's a pretty close PSA 10 value for a Bill Russell Gold 2012 Prizm. The Maravich, I didn't have any data to work with unless I missed it. And so I was like, let's go 5,000, right? And then I just sort of moved stuff around and kind of worked my way through there. The Bird, 6,750, Maravich, 5,000. That sounds about right to me. Jabbar, a little bit less than Bill Russell. That sounds about right just from a collectability standpoint, But the ones that are in yellow, I really did the research and I kind of worked my way into the PSA 10 value. All right, let's keep it on. The top 10 are in red. So the top 10 most valuable cards I put in red. LeBron James, there's a BGS 9. It most recently sold for $250,000. As you can see right here. So when I search LeBron, regardless of grade, this is what pulls up. I see 2 sales of all time, right? So the BGS 9.5 sold for an insane, just like bonkers, $571,000 in 2021. But then it relatively recently, 8 months ago, to the day, I'm actually recording this on August 27th, 2024. To the day, 8 months ago, the card sold for $250,000. Well, I estimated the PSA 10 would be worth $500,000. Guess what? There's one Beckett 10, there's one PSA 10. And for that reason, I think it probably would sell for close to $500,000. Let me know in the comments what you think. Obviously, a humongous card like this is going to have a humongous impact and bearing on what the set is worth. It's sort of like the 86 Fleer Jordan. If your 86 Fleer Jordan is a PSA 10, it's going to have a massive impact on the set if you're accurate with your price. Do you think it's worth $175 or do you think it's worth $275? That kind of affects your estimate of the set. So the LeBron is unquestionably the most important gold card in here to get as close as you can to the number. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't spend a lot of time. I just took 250, multiplied it by 2 and said, I don't know, maybe 500. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is that crazy? It could be 700. It could be 300. I really have no idea. But it did sell this year for 250 in a BGS 9.5. There's a couple of those. How many did we say there were? There's a couple of those BGS 9.5s. There's actually, okay, well, this is going to be confusing because it's been graded 13 times. Okay, so here we go back to let's go back to basics. How could a card that's serial number to 10 be graded 13 times? Well, it's people getting BGS 9.5s and then trying to cross it to PSA and then trying to cross it to Beckett 10. So apparently somebody kept getting a 9.5 over and over and over and over. I don't know if there's 3 of these or 5 of these out there. Maybe somebody graded it a 9, cracked it, graded it again, it came back 9.5, cracked the same card, graded it again, came back a BGS 10. Or maybe they graded it 4 times and it kept getting 9.5s. Then they finally cracked it and submitted it to PSA and got a 10. It's actually possible that there are only 2 golds out there. I guess it's possible. I would have to do more research and look at the actual serial numbers of the card, but PSA wasn't turning people away then saying, oh, we already graded this, it's the same, it's the same card. Obviously, because it's been graded 13 times between Beckett and PSA, or at least Beckett wasn't doing that. So it's quite possible somebody graded it a 9, cracked it, graded it a 9.5, cracked it, got a 9 again, cracked it, got a 9.5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how many are out there, but I am way off topic now. So PSA 10 values are hypothetical due to some not existing. They just didn't exist. So maybe the only sale ever was a BGS 8 or a PSA 9 or a BGS 9.5. So I had to work my way forwards and then sometimes work my way backwards as it pertains to the BGS 9 and PSA 9 value. You know how it works when you're dealing with cards that are this rare. This is important. I want to kind of stress this, and I'm going to highlight this on your screen. The multiplier for grades, meaning the price value multiplier based on grade, means more on the big cards than it does on the commons. Okay? Why? Because LeBron James, Dennis Rodman, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, there are people that collect those players. There's no one out there that collects DeAndre Liggins. There's no one out there that collects Thabo Cephalosha. There's nobody out there that, as far as we know, collects Aaron Aflalo cards. Maybe there is. God, comment below if you do. There's nobody out there that collects Andres Biedrins. So if an Andres Biedrins gold comes up for auction, the only people fighting for that card are set collectors. And the disparity between a PSA 9 and a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10 will be smaller. Whereas if you are a LeBron James collector and you've got a big swinging you-know-what and you want to have the greatest LeBron James gold that ever existed, the BGS 10 is going to be a massive, massive multiplier over the BGS 9.5. And the same thing can be said for the PSA 10, which I've estimated at 500,000. So when a common gold comes to market, it's only going to be set collectors that are kind of chasing that. It's going to be Nat Turner if he doesn't have it, and then whoever else is crazy enough to try to collect this set, right? But if it's a LeBron, a Kobe, a Curry, or whatever, well, now you're bringing in all of these big, whales, which should be called sharks because it's like blood in the water, that are fighting to have the best copy. And a 9.5 compared to a PSA 10 matters. And then PSA 9 to a BGS 9.5 really matters, right? If you collect Michael Jordan cards, if you collect any rare high-end cards in the 90s, you know that. Even if you're collecting Penny or Olajuwon or Robinson, the grade really matters more on the elite players than it does on the commons. And it's because the demand for the commons, it's just set collectors fighting, whereas the demand for the big names, it's set collectors for sure and everybody else. And so it's a much, much higher demand, right? This may not be an investment worthy set. I want to say that right now because I said in the initial introduction that we were going to address that question. Is this a collectible set? 86 Fleer is the most collected and the most collectible basketball set in the world. I feel very confident saying that. I'm not saying it's the greatest set of all time. I'm saying it's the most collected and the most collectible set, right? Throwing out insert sets. We're talking about base sets. Why? Well, because it's got that quadruple or 5 years of rookies, number one, so it's got Hall of Famers everywhere. 2, because it's a digestible, quantifiable, obtainable number of cards. 143 total, 132 for the base set, 11 stickers. That's doable. 300 cards is more than double that, okay? So that's going to take you into a whole nother level, stratosphere, price-wise and things like that. So there's too damn many cards in the set, and more importantly, there's too damn many cards that don't matter, right? If we scroll down here to the rookies, this is a big reason why this may not be the set to collect for modern basketball, even though it is, a really, really big deal, right? John Sherna, John Lure, Donald Sloan, Andrew Goodlock. Stop me when somebody recognizes or gives a damn about any of these players. Lance Thomas, Elliott Williams, Terrell Harris, Malcolm Lee, Jay Crowder, okay, maybe, Orlando Johnson, Bernard James, Quincy Acey, Quincy Miller, 2 Quincy's in a row, Will Barton, Tyshawn Taylor, Deron Lamb, shout out Wildcats, Josh Selby, Kansas, look, go down the list, dude. Robert Sacre, for God's sakes. There's too many cards in here that only matter to set collectors, and there's too many of those nonsense common pieces, that add up to make it a very collectible set. That's just my personal opinion. So too many cards that don't matter. The other thing is it might be too rare. There's a reason only 1, 2, 3 people in the entire universe are trying to collect the PMG green set, right? I'm dead serious. There's not more than 5 people in the entire world. The entire world, however many billion people that is, hundreds of billions of people. There's only 3 people out there that are collecting, did I say hundreds of billions? Oh my God, I sound like Joe Biden. Hundreds of millions or a billion plus people. I'm not good on population or world geography or world census population. I think there's 300 million in the United States, so I'm assuming there's well over a billion people out there because China and India have massively larger populations than the United States. So into the billions for sure. There's only, to the best of my knowledge, probably less than 5 people that are legitimately, honest to God, trying to collect the PMG green set. Why? There's only 10 of them out there, right? And Nat Turner's got one of almost all of the 123 cards that exist. So that leaves 9 cards out there for everybody else in the world. It's not a realistic endeavor. If Nat Turner hasn't been able to do it after 20 years, then, kind of starting tomorrow and saying, you know what, I'm going to try to collect the PMG green set. Probably a fool's folly. It's probably not a wise endeavor. You might be throwing a hell of a lot of money at a bunch of commons and you're not really going to get close. If you want to just be second on the PSA set registry, go for it, but you're never going to complete the set. I'll just tell you right now, Cajun Cardboard will be, yes, third person, Cajun Cardboard will be long gone, dead, and in the ground by the time anybody other than Nat Turner, unless he sells his 120 cards, gets that green set completed. So for the same reason the green set's impossible, this set's even more impossible. It's even more impossible because there's 300 of them. There's over twice as many. It's 2.5 times as many cards to collect. And too many of them just don't matter at all, to be quite honest with you. So that kind of answers my question. All right, let's talk about some of the values before we get to what I think the total value of these sets are. Have you guys started to form some idea of what you think the set might be worth in PSA 10, BGS 9.5, PSA 9? Remember, my multipliers are PSA 10 value, I just did my best. BGS 9.5, I multiplied it by 0.75, so about 75% of the value. PSA 9, I just multiplied it by half. And it's not a perfect science, again, because a common PSA 9 might be 500 and a common PSA 10 might be 700, right? That's not that big of a difference. But a LeBron PSA 9 or a LeBron BGS 9 and a LeBron PSA 10, it could be literally 5x, right? And so it's really hard to kind of get the numbers accurate, but I did come up with some numbers, so you guys start thinking about that. But I want to talk about how I got to some of these. So the last LeBron BGS 9.5 sold for $250,000. PSA 10 is 2 times that, so that's why I got $500,000 up there approximately. The last Kobe BGS 9.5 sold for $156,000. Listen to this, guys. BGS Raw Kobe Gold sold for $2,800 in 2018. That's not that long ago. That was just before COVID. 2018, Luka Doncic came out and everybody was chasing the Prizm base Luka Doncic and buying Raw and grading it and flipping it and making $400. We could have just bought a freaking Kobe Gold 2012 Prizm for $2,800 and it's worth probably $300,000 in a PSA 10 today. 156 a BGS 9.5 sold for. I think I got that one even pulled up. No, that's Shaq. There's Kobe. Yeah, there's your BGS 9.5, $156,000 on August 6, 2022. Now, look, you can argue. Card Ladder has on here it's worth $110. I don't know. Maybe. Some Kobe cards are going up right now. Some Kobe cards are going down right now. Like I said, this is not an exact science, so just bear with me. The last Garnett PSA 9 sold for $15,000, so I estimated a PSA 10, $30,000. Why? Because Garnett is not just a set piece, he is a collected player. He is a very collectible player. Durant, BGS 9.5 sold for $14,400. PSA 10, 2x it. I went 2x on that one for a multiplier, $14,400. Again, this is without me checking the pop report, there may not be a Kevin Durant PSA 10. There may not exist one. There may not. I didn't go that far deep into the weeds to figure that out. I'm just sort of finagling an approximate value. Vince Carter, believe it or not, the last one to sell was a BGS 10, and it sold for 10 grand. So I put a PSA 10 at about 80%, about 8 grand. Westbrook PSA 9 sold for 6,600. PSA 10, I just doubled it, right? About 13,000. Westbrook, Carmelo 6,000 because Vince Carter was 8,000. That's what I guessed. So I had to work my way into some cards because I didn't see a Carmelo gold. But if Vince Carter sold for 8, approximately, it sold for 10, BGS 10. PSA 10 might be worth about 8, so I figured Carmelo might be worth about 6. If a Carmelo PSA 10 came up, could it sell for 4? Sure. Could it sell for a 12? Sure. We've seen crazy crap going on, so nobody out there has got the answer to this. I'm just doing my best to work into it. So I basically went through all of these players on this list that matter. You know, Dennis Rodman, Kareem, Dr. J, Olajuwon. Like Olajuwon SGC 9.5 sold. Who grades a gold Prizm parallel Olajuwon with SGC? Why are you doing that? Get it graded by PSA, flip it. Even if it's a PSA 9, it'll be worth more probably. Shaq, Jerry West, the Admiral, Magic, Ewing, Stockton, Iverson, Wilkins. Look, I went through all of this stuff and sort of tried to get close and make reasonable inferences of what the value would be. Let's get down here and talk about some of the rookies because those are important. And these guys are still playing, a lot of these guys. Kyrie Irving, BGS 9.5, sold for $97.66. So I said a PSA 10, just shy of 2 times that. Kawhi Leonard, BGS 9.5, guys, sold for $50,000. A BGS 9 sold for $20,000. So I said PSA 10, $65,000. I probably would go out on a limb and say there's no way in hell that a Kawhi Leonard is going to sell for $65,000 today, given his recent status in the hobby as really not somebody that anybody's chasing to collect. So that's probably a little bit high. So adjust accordingly on your own spreadsheet. Anthony Davis, $11,000. Bradley Beal, $37.16. A BGS 9.5 sold for. So what's a PSA 10 worth? Can he get a title up there in the Suns? And then, Chris Middleton actually had a BGS 10 black label that sold for $9,420 in 2022. So I guessed that a PSA 10 was worth about half of that. So had to do a lot of guessing. Here's your answers, guys. Not answers, but here's my guesses, right? 1.8 million. I think that the entire gold PSA 10 set, again, this is hypothetical because some of these guys don't have PSA 10s, would be worth about 1.8 million. A BGS 9.5 would be worth about 1.3 million, 75% of that value. And an estimated PSA 9 value would be about $924,000. I have no idea, right? I just did it. I just kind of wanted to look at it. I kind of wanted to bounce around. I was just curious about what some of this stuff is worth. Like a Yao Ming, $12,600 for a PSA 10. I could see a Yao Ming selling for 25 grand, people. If a PSA 10 came to market, he is one of the most collected players in Asia and all over the world, and he was a legend. He belongs in the legends. A Yao Ming would probably outsell a Kyrie Irving rookie gold right now, but I got the Kyrie on here as 19 just based on historical sales data. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about whether or not this is the greatest modern set. Nobody has it. Nat's chasing it. Is anybody else that's watching this video chasing it? If anybody wants to chase it, I'll gladly share this spreadsheet with you. Maybe it can give you a little bit of a start. At trying to price it and trying to put a checklist together, but I wouldn't advise it. I just don't think anybody's getting to the finish line on this set. There's just too many of them out there in too many different grades, and this is one of those sets just like the PMG Greens, just like the PMG Reds, and just like vintage baseball where you're going to have to be okay with a mixed grade set. You're not going to be able to just say, hey, I got the whole set in PSA 10. I get the whole set in BGS 9.5. It's not happening. That is never, ever, ever going to happen. So you have to be okay with mixed grades on this particular set, which not a lot of people who are modern set collectors are okay with. So that also would probably cut against it. But serial number to 10, 300 cards, 125 of them are probably completely irrelevant players that nobody would remember or care to remember, and certainly nobody collects. Let me know, guys, what you think in the comments. Is this even a collectible set? Nat's doing it, and you know what? More power to him, and I'm not telling him to take a U-turn and stop collecting it. Not that he would listen to me, but you know, the thing that makes a set collectible, and I've got a video coming up really soon. It's basically the premise of the video is going to be what makes a set collectible. How do you identify if you've got that set collector gene like I do, and I've collected some of the biggest and baddest, the PMG Reds, the 86 Fleer, you know, a bunch of really badass insert sets, the 92 Bean Team. If you've got that set collector gene where every once in a while you're like, ping, oh my God, Hot Shots would look so awesome if you had every card, or Take It to .net if you had every card, and you see the pictures of the people that post it on Facebook and Instagram, and you're like, I'm gonna go do that. That is just the coolest picture I've ever seen. If you've got that gene, you know, which sets do you choose? What are the important criteria to consider? You know, I've got a video coming out that, you know, that I've got certain criteria of what I deem are necessary prerequisites for a set to be collectible for me, right? And it's going to change, and everybody's going to have different criteria and different objectives, but it's interesting to talk about. If you're a set collector, you probably like this video. If you're a flipper, or you know, or you don't collect sets, or you never even saw the urge of why would I collect a set when they've got commons in there that nobody wants, then this video probably was not very entertaining for you. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It was a fun little research project that I did. Like I said, if anybody out there is collecting the gold set, let me know. I know everybody's collecting these big boy players in gold. Like I can see, you know, Westbrook collectors wanting the gold Prizm, LeBron, Curry, you know, Grant Hill, Kyrie, Clay, Butler, you know, Anthony Davis, Kawhi, and all those guys, Sean Kemp, and all these legends. That would be really cool to get one of these legends cards in gold. And let me just be really clear. I do not own a single 2012 gold Prizm card right now. I owned a Magic Johnson gold BGS 9.5 finalists insert. That's the only 2012 gold that I have ever owned in my life, as far as I can recall. And I know right now I don't own any. I do collect this particular set in base, and if I could take a time machine, I would undo that. That was a bad decision, because I think I have 291 out of the 300 cards in PSA 10, and the 9 that I'm missing are all players that it's Tobias Harris for some reason, and 8 other players that you guys don't care about, nobody cares about, nobody would ever grade it, so I've got to go buy them raw and grade them myself. So it's one of those set collecting decisions that I would probably, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and decide not to do it. It's certainly worth a lot less now than when I started collecting the set back in like 2020, when all these prices were running, specifically on the 2012 Prizm PSA 10 base stuff. Anyway, that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button if you like videos like this, where we just pick a topic and start randomly rambling about research and data and what if this, then this, what, you know, what the future hold. Is this a good set? Stuff like this. Just random stuff, outside the box stuff that really no other content creators are trying to do in the basketball card hobby, at least. If you like these kind of videos, do me a favor. It doesn't cost you any money. Hit the like button. You can hit it right now. It actually helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And then, of course, hit the subscribe button. If you found this video entertaining with me rambling about a 2012 Prizm Gold set, I've got many other videos out there that are evergreen that you guys need to check out by searching through my playlists, especially if you collect 90s basketball cards. But it's always fun to kind of prognosticate and conjecture and just kind of wonder about different stuff like this in the hobby. Thank you guys as always for watching. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.